This video brought to you by Keeps. Right now 50% off with the link below.
Most of the film was shot in Atlanta, but was based on St. Angelo's in Rome, Dolomites in Italy.
Shooting a globe-trotting action adventure in Atlanta was not easy, but we managed to pull it off.
Red Notice is a new Netflix action heist blockbuster where super thief Ryan Reynolds has to join forces with FBI agent The Rock to take down super thief Gal Gadot before she can find and steal Cleopatra's 3 eggs, a blockbuster that became Netflix's biggest feature thus far. And the reason I'm telling you all this is because in case it's been more than 10 minutes since you saw it, odds are you have no recollection of it. Yeah, so Red Notice is one of those weird movies where despite its massive success, it has absolutely nothing to leave a mark with. Everything about it feels so generic and uninspired and by the numbers that it's almost like it's not made to be experienced as much as it is made to be consumed. Just put it on in the background until the credits roll and then never talk or think about it again. And looking at all the things it offers, that is very intriguingly strange, because the movie is designed to be 2 hours of good time. It features multiple biggest movie stars of today. I mean, it's a $200 million blockbuster that takes the audience on expensive sequences all around the world. So how can all that possibly carry less of a lasting cultural impact than a girl dancing on TikTok for 10 seconds? Well, the answer, as per usual, lies within the staple of successful modern blockbusters, the inventor of triple B filmmaking, Michael Bay. See, the best way to describe Red Notice is that it's basically a Michael Bay movie made by someone who isn't Michael Bay and doesn't have a distinct personality like Michael Bay. And whether that makes the movie better or worse is up to you, but the point is that there's nothing here to latch on to, nothing to love or hate. Michael Bay and his movies live in people's heads rent-free, whereas the only feeling Red Notice generates is indifference, like a cinematic equivalent of bread. It's consumed by millions of people around the globe, but it's bread, like what is there to say? And so today, what I thought would be interesting and useful to do is to look closer at the key things that Red Notice offers, its good time and big stars and its massive blockbuster nature, and identify why all of them ultimately fail to amount to anything. Here's what to avoid if you don't want your mega successful movie to be a generic meh that gets consumed and then forgotten. The first genericness issue here is that this movie is such a fun, good time that it becomes a 2-hour-long tonal flatline in both plot and characters. On the plot side of this, look at the events and obstacles and you'll notice that they always play out with the exact same lighthearted tone. When Ryan Reynolds escapes museum authorities in the beginning, there's no real sense of stakes or threat for either side. It's just a fun, big-scale game of tag.
That was a fun foot chase though, right? Lots of twists and turns, hijinks.
When Gal Gadot tortures The Rock to get answers from Reynolds, there's no real ominous intimidation involved. It's just the guys having a bit of a laugh because torture is fun.
Get him to talk.
Why is your shirt off?
Why is his shirt off? I don't know. Sometimes.
When Reynolds and Rock end up in a bullfight, they don't really have to fight to survive or anything. They just make some fun references.
Was Jeff Goldblum in it?
Oh my god, it was Jurassic Park.
And then get hit by the bull once and just leave. When at the end there's a big firefight with officials, no person ever gets hit by a single bullet because real physical harm isn't fun. Overall, no matter how serious things and obstacles by nature get, they're always forcibly portrayed in the most amusing, casual light. Like when The Rock ends up in a Russian gulag and then gets outed as a cop by Reynolds.
Niet politia, niet politia, not a cop, profiler for the FBI.
How does that play out? Do we actually get to fear for his safety to the point where if he doesn't watch his back and get out there soon, he's not gonna get out alive at all? No, all that happens is that one prisoner comes up to knock The Rock down and then that's it. Nobody pays any attention to either of them ever again. Because, you know, actually fearing for the hero's ability to make it through the obstacles ahead, that's no fun.
You're stepping over a line now. You're stepping over a line, you know you are.
Same thing on the character side, like with character goals, which are about as deep as you'll find in a bad episode of Peppa Pig. Ryan Reynolds' main goal is to be the #1 thief in the world to get back at his strict dad.
My dad thought I stole his watch. He didn't speak to me again after that.
Who not only never appears on screen, but also apparently isn't even alive anymore. The Rock's main goal is to prove his innocence and get his life back.
Help me catch the bishop. It's the only chance I have to get my life back.
Without any explanation as to what is the life he's trying to get back. Gal Gadot's main goal is to get more money, because that's what super thieves do, I guess.
Look, we need a new score now anyway.
Why?
We need a new score.
Why?
Overall, we don't really get serious emotional attachments as much as we get superficial excuses to go on this fun adventure, to the point where the big bad thing that happens if we fail is that the MacGuffins will be sold to be a wedding gift for a girl. Like, oh no, we really gotta stop that from happening, or oh, never mind, now she doesn't even care because Ed Sheeran is there.
Ed Sheeran, who knew?
God, he's so cute.
It all kind of reminds me of when Thanos got the stones in Infinity War but then lost all interest when he saw Adele nearby. That also made that movie a bit less of a serious drag.
Awesome.
This also affects the feelings that the characters portray, to the point where whenever someone even tries to express something a bit gloomier,
He never apologized. He just looked me in the eye and he said,
it's immediately deflated into a joke. I mean, look at the ending twist, where it turns out that The Rock was actually conning Ryan Reynolds the whole time, which honestly is quite a big shock because everything else before it has been so generic.
This whole time you were working for her?
Not for, with.
Like partners.
Yeah, we're both the bishop.
So essentially, Reynolds in this movie learns to open up to another person for the first time in decades and then ultimately gets betrayed by him, which is a perfect opportunity to finally do something a bit more serious. But then what actually happens? Well, Reynolds finds them and makes some fun jokes and then says they should work together, and then they do. That's it. Because people working together is much more fun than them having actual issues with each other.
I always appreciate a quality double cross. Super fun time, guys.
What a beautiful thing, because maybe one day it'll be like that.
Making a fun movie is fine, but it cannot be only that. Movies are meant to be roller coasters. Even in Michael Bay's super wacky work, you'll find situations that seem truly bad. You'll find characters expressing real negative feelings. Because if your entire film from start to finish is exclusively fun, it's just gonna vanish into its own flat line. The second genericness issue here is that this movie doesn't really have actors playing characters as much as it has characters being taken over by personalities. To introduce what I mean with this, look at the main hero-villain characters here and you might notice some familiarities. Ryan Reynolds is a lovable rascal who has a witty quip for every situation.
Where'd you get that jacket? Somewhere there's a very nude cow whispering, worth it.
The Rock is a hard, no-nonsense exterior with a sweet, kinda superiorish inside.
Did you just choose me over the egg?
No?
Well, it kind of looks like you did. You went running in there to rescue me.
Gal Gadot is an exotic femme fatale who's always smarter and tougher than the powerful men around her. So yeah, the characters here at their core are the exact same these people have been portraying in other movies for years now, which creates two major issues. Firstly, the fact that if all these characters already exist with only tiny variations, then what is there to find interesting or memorable? How can you remember something that's already in your memory? And secondly, the fact that the build-up and establishment of these characters relies too heavily on the people portraying them. As an example of this, Gal Gadot is essentially hyped up to be this dangerously competent, greatest super thief in the world. But what do we actually see her do? Well, we see her make a first theft, which in practice is so simple it could have been done by any thief. We see her do some movie hacking that doesn't even make sense.
A few clever keystrokes and a well-timed call intercept.
Access encoded, gigabyte of RAM should do the trick. We're in. All right, what do we got?
We see her having tied up some office guy and then knock out a guard with the most effective trip in film history. In other words, we don't really see her do anything. She just is this omniscient mastermind in a world of idiots who knows everything.
Who provided you this information?
The bishop.
How'd you find me?
Bishop.
And can physically take on anyone, because it's Gal Gadot, it's Wonder Woman, of course she can. But the thing is, she's not Wonder Woman here. She's just a woman. Seeing her overpower men twice her body weight without any establishment of her skills is just pretty dumb. Nobody in the audience can take her as a real threat the movie sells her as.
Come on!
Same with the other two. Reynolds is a master con man not because his cons ever have any real elaborate imagination, but because it's Ryan Reynolds. He's always really smart and witty. The Rock is an FBI agent slash master con man not because his skills are ever visibly built, but because it's The Rock. He can do anything. He always gets his way at the end and then poses for the camera.
Sneaky little minx. Where'd you learn that?
The Rock!
And this issue continues to the point where the personalities are actually fighting against what the characters are meant to be and do. Whether it's Reynolds trying to convey real emotion without some sort of a quip.
What a dick.
Whether it's The Rock trying to appear genuine without some sense of sarcastic superiority.
You are amazing. Wow.
Or whether it's Gal Gadot trying to seem actually menacing.
Us where the third egg is.
Christian Bale, Gary Oldman, Leo DiCaprio, these are actors that disappear into their characters to the point where only the character remains. But in Red Notice, none of these people are actors as much as they are popular personalities portraying a variation of themselves, which isn't a problem in of itself. Tom Cruise is the biggest movie star personality on the planet, and he just made one of the greatest, most gripping action movies of all time. But the difference is that here there's so many massive personalities filling such tiny characters that those characters and the film in general end up taking a back seat. This isn't a movie starring these people, it's these people starring in some new movie that's too relatively insignificant for us to actually care about or get invested in.
And there it is. There's the watch, the missing watch.
Say what you want about Michael Bay, but at least he always goes to such insane extremes with his movies and characters, even in a stereotypical way, that no actor is ever bigger than them. I mean, The Rock's greatest acting performance is in a Michael Bay movie, which, by the way, he was initially scared to take. Having popular personalities is fine, but when there's too many of them filling two tiny characters to the point where those characters and their journeys get left in the shadow, then it's a problem. The third genericness issue here is that despite this movie being a $200 million blockbuster, it doesn't really offer anything new. Looking at the major action sequences, for example, it's almost as if you've seen them all before. The opening foot chase in a building under construction, that's pretty cool, until you compare it to the one in Casino Royale and realize that not really. Oh, and the comedic scaffolding fight afterwards, that's pretty fun, right? Well, more so when Jackie Chan did it. The prison sequence where Reynolds and Rock have to create a distraction to escape from this Russian gulag. Yeah, that's a good idea. But I mean, I preferred it in Ghost Protocol where we also had to worry about other prisoners and where the escape plan also made sense. Cause what's the purpose of blowing up a washing machine if it doesn't hit any guards? You may as well just start fighting. But to be fair, there is the added element of The Rock having to climb a CGI mountainside at the end, so... Oh, right, never mind, I've seen Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill climb an actual mountainside. The big ending chase sequence where the heroes jump between old army vehicles to keep their hands on the shiny MacGuffin in a brown bag, that's actually pretty exciting. Just not as much as in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where the CGI wasn't just darkness. Oh, and where there's also another challenge to overcome before the conclusion of driving down a waterfall. So not sure if you're catching my sarcasm yet, but the point I'm getting at is that not only does Red Notice recycle action sequences from other blockbusters, they're also inferior stripped down versions of them.
You're suspended in air about 100 feet. I jump and I grab the bottom of the helicopter.
It was only 6 feet off the ground.
It's incredible. It's incredible, the amount of bullshit.
We have literally built a small city on the side of the mountain.
We've come here to shoot it for real. It's the Mission Impossible way.
And while coming up with entirely new sequences is almost impossible anymore, you still need to play with the dynamics and other elements to at least make them feel fresh. In the Shang-Chi scaffolding fight, for example, not only did they crank up the choreography and intensity and height factor, they also added in another character we need to fight to protect. That sequence takes what Jackie Chan did and upgrades it, not necessarily making it objectively better, but doing something more and clearly different with it. Whereas in Red Notice, even when there's a silver platter chance to do that, it still refuses, as you'll find in this Matador sequence where Reynolds and Rock have to face off with a raging bull. Nonsensical setup aside, this is a perfect opportunity to do something not yet seen in a mainstream blockbuster. But then what is actually done? There's a joke,
That's Jeff Goldblum.
and then The Rock gets hit once with really bad CGI, and then they just leave. That's it.
Thank you.
It's like, if your heroes have to do less with a fictional bull than Johnny Knoxville did with a real one, then what's the point? What's the point of recycling a heist sequence from Ocean's 11? Why can't you at least switch it up with the location like Rogue Nation? What's the point of having these characters just fight? Why can't you do something specific with the fight to at least make it look believable? What's the point of having a celebrity cameo whose dialogue literally states that he has already cameoed in another project?
I was in Game of Thrones.
What is the point of spending $200 million on a blockbuster that's an inferior version of something that already exists? And as much as Michael Bay gets crap from me and everyone else, he puts so much effort into crafting fresh experiences that justify the price of admission. He films places and things no other Hollywood blockbuster has yet filmed.
300-ton crane to lower all of our equipment in.
He takes what other filmmakers have done and goes bigger.
You been in there? No. Get in there. It's busy. It's like the movie Inception.
He gives us new sequences like real people really wingsuiting through a city downtown, which still today does not exist in any other film.
Check your six. Check your six. He's on arrest.
If you have $200 million to make a movie and can't think of a single new thing to offer, you don't deserve to make that movie. And it's your responsibility to not make it until you found something. Because if you do, if you just make the movie anyway, the best case scenario is Red Notice, which gets consumed all around the world, but is also forgotten immediately after consumption. But before I leave you until February, here's one more piece of highly requested Filmento update/advice for the new year. A lot of you keep asking if me and Chloe are still together because I haven't talked about this in a while, and I am happy to say that, yeah, it worked. If you're not caught up on the backstory, I was essentially starting to experience hair loss, as tends to happen to most guys at some point, which I was afraid would blow my chances with Chloe. But as I told you guys then, what I did was get in on this subscription service that allowed me to treat and prevent my hair loss easily at home. I used it for around 4 to 6 months to see results, and it worked. Today, I still have my great hair and Chloe Moretz. The service is called Keeps, and they've quickly become the most trusted brand in the field of hair loss prevention at a cheap cost. They personalize your treatment plan online and send the stuff directly to you. A lot of you actually signed up when I talked about this last time, so to celebrate, I had them sponsor another Filmento video discount of 50% off your first purchase for anyone that missed out. So if you think hair loss is beginning to affect you and your self-esteem, click the link below and go to keeps.com/Filmento to do something about it. Helps the channel as well, so thanks, and I'll see you next year.